What's up guys, Nick the Saddle Tank Engine 2009 back, and I'm sure you know about the two main projects I've been wanting to do for my future. It involves plans for Thomas and Friends Ready Steady Work and SpongeBob SquarePants Big Adventures, two show projects based on my two beloved shows. Now, I've already posted about my original ideas for the two shows, but I've actually had quite a bigger history with coming up with them, so I'm here to share them with you now. In 2021, after watching a lot of the Milan Tuner's popular crossover series, The Railways of Crotoonia, I've started concepts of planning my own series, which I call a sequel series, The Amazing Adventures of Crotoonia. For the most part, the series is planned to be somewhat true to the original show, although the first bunch of planned episodes were based on the stories on the Thomas and Friends Talk to You app, just with the crossover trains added. I did say for the most part, however, because later on, for the first special planned, things began going downhill, since I started planning to add more crossover characters, not from more train shows, but from shows like SpongeBob, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Littlest Pet Shop, and even the movie Cars. The current episodes of the main Railways of Crotoonia series, or even the Meet the Crotoonia series, do feature Dusty Cropper from the movie Planes, which is still set in the Cars world, so there might be a good chance that if there will be any videos involving racing cars, no doubt Lightning McQueen or even Cruz Ramirez would appear, or maybe Roary the racing car. Back to the Amazing Adventures of Crotoonia, for the timeline of the planned episodes and specials, most were centered around the True Blue Steam team, Thomas, Tilly, Tracy, and Casey Jr., while also focused on planned characters like SpongeBob, Jenny Wakeman, Blythe Baxter, and Lightning McQueen, and maybe also the three trainees, Wilson, Coco, and Brewster. Concerned how I never planned Tayo or the characters in Firehouse Tales on this series. But after a while, I eventually cancelled the Amazing Adventures of Crotoonia series, because I thought about the criticisms of making so many crossover story ideas that have nothing to do with the core appeal of the main series, plus making the Milan Tuner himself pissed by these ideas. So yeah, The Amazing Adventures of Crotoonia was a real doozy of a spin-off to the Railways of Crotoonia. I'm honestly glad I never greenlit that show. But afterwards, I kept the idea of making an actual series once I have a YouTube channel. However, I felt like making two separate shows, still about Thomas and SpongeBob. And thus, Ready Steady Work and Big Adventures were thought out, and concept ideas for the two shows started progress. And boy oh boy, they were a much bigger doozy. So I said in my post last year that these two shows were supposed to still be crossovers. I'll start with my ideas for SpongeBob's Big Adventures. These ideas weren't particularly awful at first, but ever since the planning of season 1, I originally included the following: Jenny Wakeman from My Life as a Teenage Robot, Unikitty from, well, her own show, and Zoe Trent from Littlest Pet Shop as new characters. But then in season 2, I planned Hoops and Yo-Yo as new characters. Do any of you know these two? And it was planned to stay like that for a good while, cause both shows I planned to have at least 22 seasons and 11 movies. However, that wasn't until the SpongeBob movies planned, as they seemed to take in a different direction. The second movie was supposed to take place in Littlest Pet Shop, where Zoe takes SpongeBob to downtown city, and he meets Blythe and the other pets there. The fourth one was supposed to center around Jenny, and center it around her life of what it's like after her show ended. The fifth one was supposed to have SpongeBob be transferred over to what I call the Looneyverse, where he's introduced to Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Elmer Fudd, and pretty much every Looney Tunes character you're familiar with. The sixth movie was supposed to be about Unikitty. In fact, it wasn't supposed to feature any of the SpongeBob characters at all, so it wouldn't have felt like you were watching SpongeBob, but just Unikitty. Lastly, the eighth movie was supposed to cross over SpongeBob and Littlest Pet Shop: A World of Our Own series. Now, I don't know a lot about that show because I haven't rewatched it since I've been plotting these ideas, so I don't know why I even thought of that idea. But in conclusion, the crossovers for SpongeBob SquarePants Big Adventures was somewhat gentle with the seasons, but pretty hard with the movie ideas. Side note, the plots for most of the episodes were intended to be parodies of a lot of SML videos. Same with some Amazing Adventures of Crotoonia episodes. But if you thought my crossovers with SpongeBob was doozy, oh man, you haven't seen my original ideas with Thomas. Now, I never expected my ideas with Thomas and Friends Ready Steady Work to be as turbulent as ever, because I originally wanted to keep it a gentle crossover. First one that came to mind was Bambi, as I planned the characters there as new characters for Season 1. That was because I was inspired when watching George Garza Productions videos. This plan ran for a good little bit, but then in the first planned movie, Alpha, Omega, and Steam Engine, it was supposed to cross over Thomas and Alpha and Omega. If I remember, the plot was supposed to be where Thomas, Annie, Clarabelle, and the Fat Controller go to America for a meet and greet event, because a lot of people there want to meet them so bad. But then they run into Humphrey and Kate, and they're involved with most of the journey and events happening throughout the movie. This was a movie I've been wanting to do since 2019, 7 years ago, because I used to like the Alpha and Omega movie when I gave it a watch after seeing the trailer on 3 of my Thomas DVDs, but nowadays, I lost interest in it. The second planned movie, however, it's supposed to be where Thomas gets washed up on a place known as LeapFrog, and this is supposed to cross Thomas over with Scout and friends. I seriously do not know why I even planned that one. In fact, I even considered that plan being the worst of all the planned movies on this list. After that, in I believe Season 5, I planned bringing in some more engines as new characters, but they're Tilly from the 1991 adaptation of The Little Engine That Could, Tracy, or Little Engine, from the 2011 adaptation of the same story, and Casey Jr. from the movie Dumbo. In fact, I even planned Dumbo and Timothy the Mouse in Season 6. And then, in Season 10, I planned for Bob the Builder and his team to show up. But that was because I was inspired by Little Blue Train 67 series, Thomas's Friendship Tales, since that only crosses over Bob the Builder. The 8th planned movie, it was planned to cross over Thomas and the Fox and the Hound. And right about where I was going to plan the characters from My Little Pony to be in Season 15, I finally stopped and thought about all of this. Like, I can't just cram all of that into Thomas, because even if I give an explanation of all those characters, I felt like it would be disrespecting the true appeal that made Thomas special, that I didn't exactly need to have crossovers to make it better. So overall, when I've been thinking of the consequences of those original ideas for the Thomas and SpongeBob shows, or letting reality destroy those ideas I've wanted to do, I ended up canceling the crossover ideas, and decided to just stay true to what the shows are based on, and just have them take place on Sodor and Bikini Bottom solely, because how can you even call them a Thomas or SpongeBob project if they're just crossovers with lots of other shows, especially when you craft your own canon or AU. And if you ask, yes, I've decided to craft my own canon with both of my shows. You know why? Because I was inspired by James A. Williams' overview of his Sodor Stories series. I saw his rundown on his take on the timeline of Thomas and Friends for his own series, so I thought, why not do that with my series, and SpongeBob too. I still don't know if I want to start my shows now, because I still gotta find voice actors and a software to begin progress. However, I'm more likely waiting to see how the official Thomas reboot for this year performs, coming hopefully very soon. Anyway guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I really hope you learned something about taking crossovers and pushing them to the limit, and just making sure you're careful with them, like I'm trying to be now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. This is Nick the Saddle Tank Engine 2009, signing off.